Welcome everybody to MogTalk. Sorry, I'm trying to manage all these different things at the same time. But today we are here. What's today? Today is July 31st, 2021. This is MogTalk, where we discuss everything in Final Fantasy XIV, from Savage Raiding to Chocobo Racing to video making, which we are doing today with two amazing individuals. One, of course, being Denmo, the other one being JoCat, but I want them to introduce themselves so they're not just sitting there awkwardly and like, who the are these guys? So if you wouldn't mind, Joe, can you tell everybody who you are?
Hi, my name is JoCat. I go by JoCat on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and I make videos primarily on YouTube of various different kinds, usually comedy, sometimes animations. I originally got my start making Monster Hunter videos, Monster Hunter crap guides, kind of satirical guide series on how to use the different weapons in Monster Hunter. And then I moved on to D&D, and now I'm making them for Final Fantasy.
Sweet, sweet. Well, thank you for coming on. It's awesome to meet you. I'm going to let Denmo introduce himself now. He's been on one show, and it's been like 4 years of me constantly saying I'll get you back on, and now he's here.
Yep.
Tell everybody who you are, dude.
I'm Denmo. I make YouTube videos, and it's almost always about Final Fantasy XIV, and I play a lot of Final Fantasy XIV, and I tweet a lot. So that's my claim to fame.
Claim to fame.
That's it.
You know, I remember the first time I actually heard your name. It was 2016, and we were at FanFest. I was at FanFest, and I was with some of my friends hanging out. It was like Happy and Mel and them, and they're like, "Oh, have you met Denmo yet?" And he's like, "Yeah." Just like off to the side, yeah, that guy. But I don't know why I remember that, but I remember that moment. It probably wasn't exactly in that context, and my memory's been warped since then. But that's when I first started to know who Denmo. I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" You know?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. But is that the first? Like, you went to 2016 FanFest, right?
Yes, I believe I did. Yeah.
I'm not misremembering that or anything. Is that the first one that you went to?
It was the 2016. That was in
2016.
That was the Stormblood one, right?
Yeah, that was where they announced Stormblood. Yeah.
Yeah. I was there, and then I wasn't at the one prior. The one I missed was the more recent one. So.
Oh, wow. I think we all missed the most recent one, right?
No. I'm talking about the 2018.
I got you. Joe, have you ever been to a FanFest before?
No, I hadn't really. I wasn't really into 14 until recently, so I had no interest.
Tell me,
and I only had started doing cons recently as well.
When did you get into Final Fantasy 14?
That is a long story that I will cut short by saying 5.3.
Wow.
After watching someone play a little bit of 5.3, and essentially because of the fact that I'm watching a stream and I can't just skip the dialogue like I normally would, I was like, wait a minute, this dialogue is actually good?
Yeah. You know, it was funny. I've been watching a lot of new players come in and go through the story, and I'm watching it. I'm like, man, this stuff's really good. I don't remember it being good. I remember it being a hurdle that I had to go through, and because I was just an idiot playing the game when I first got into it. Right?
And then you learn that hurdle is the content. It's like, what? Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's that because I just wasn't used to it. You're right. I played WoW, and like everything in WoW was just like, hey, just here's some stuff. You click on them. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could read if you really want to, and then just go and fetch, a couple of weeds or something and come back. And it's kind of like that here, but you actually have a cutscene about why these weeds are important, and you need to go pick them up.
Now you learn the weeds were like a long gift given by this person's grandpa before they passed away, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And they start it because, of some ancient calamity, and they were only royals used to use them before, but now they cure...
And then that farmer shows up at the final battle, and you're like, oh, I helped him with his weeds.
Yeah. I love it. So, man, when did 5.3 come out? That came out in...
it was like August 2019.
August?
No. August 2020.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, August 2020.
Yeah. So that's insane. So you've only been playing for about a year.
Yeah, pretty much. Sort of. I've been playing on and off back when I was in college, so like 2015, but like a little bit and like mostly crafting for the progression. Like I skipped everything. I didn't like all the dialogue that I had to read because who reads, right?
Right.
And I'm
There are
currently
some
working.
places where it just reads long, so
Yeah.
I don't
Very
blame you.
much. And yeah, I some of the people who I think are bigger, like Shen, for example, actually started playing later than I did, but got into the game faster. So they, started enjoying. I would say was more in the game than I was
Hmm.
earlier.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, no, Shin's awesome, by the way. So before we even get started, guys, we are at LunarCon, and I didn't explain any of that. You're like, hey, why the hell is there like a game in the background and everything? We're actually at a ward physically at LunarCon right now. And you can see Denmo's wonderful character. Yeah, there you go. JoCat's next to him, and I'm just sitting there in front of this awesome podium that they put together for a panel for us to discuss this. And so I really want to give a shout out to Shin and everyone that's involved making this event happen, because this has been the largest ever that I know of event in Final Fantasy 14.
Hmm. At least in game, like this is
Yeah, well, in
people are
game,
saying
yeah.
comparing it to like patch levels of people coming in because it's like
Yeah.
it's all run by fans. There's nothing official about it.
Yep. No. I mean, and this is fantastic because I never even imagined, it would be something like this. I don't even know that they know themselves. They knew that this was going to happen, but they've been taking it like a champion. Because I know when you start a project and you're like, oh, this is a really cool idea, and then it just explodes, and you're like, well, crap, now I have to figure out how to make all this stuff work. And so definitely props to those guys for making this happen. Um, Getting back to video making, all that wonderful stuff. Joe, you just recently got into doing the game Final Fantasy 14. When did you start actually making videos?
Oh boy. Early or like summer 2018, I think, was when I started. Because there was a large swath of time, I think, where I was still in college, but there was nothing that I had during the summer, and I was just in my apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I'm gonna make a stupid video about Monster Hunter because it's coming out on PC, and my friends all play on PC,
Okay.
and I want to teach them how to play the game. So I made this crap guide because I know regular guides are boring to watch,
Of
and
course.
so I made that for my friends essentially, and
Okay.
it kind of blew up.
That's awesome, man. I mean, and that's just kind of how it happens, right? You put a lot of work into it. You have no clue what's going to happen, especially when you're first starting out. Like if anyone's going to look at it. But yours blew up, and then you start doing it about D&D as well shortly
Hmm.
afterwards,
And then it blew up even more.
and that's amazing. I mean, you're kind of do you watch Critical Role at all, or did you watch Critical Role a little bit?
Surprisingly, no. That's going to
Okay,
become as a shock to a lot of people, but it's just so
it is.
long, man.
It is. It's so long.
And I could just put it on in the background, but then I'm not going to be paying attention to what's going on. I'm not going to know what's happening.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because that started to get really popular around the same time. I would assume that you're making these videos too, and so it kind of went hand in hand. Some really good timing.
My timing is incredibly lucky with all of them. With Monster Hunter, because World was like the break into the mainstream for the series
Hmm.
finally. I did D&D when, Critical Role was just starting their second campaign. Um, and there was D&D stuff everywhere.
Hmm.
I'm making Final Fantasy videos now that there's a massive wave of people joining in. It's just like I need to just go buy a lottery ticket or something.
Yeah, yeah, do it, dude. All right. So, uh, also, I want to ask you the same question, Demo. You've done all of your content mostly around Final Fantasy 14. When did you start making videos for Final Fantasy 14?
Uh, Gosh, I mean, before that, it was making stupid comic strips on the forum, uh, just to make people laugh, and then it turned into I figured out how to get Sony Vegas to work, and then from there just kind of snowballed into just making different videos. I think one of the first ones I made was when they put out the Magitech mount, or when I finally got the Magitech mount from getting level 50 in A Realm Reborn. I wanted to do the march through Narsh with the music, so and then there was the silly music video when they added the Manderville dance, and I just went ham and just started dancing in random places in people's houses and annoying the crap out of my neighbors, and put it all together to a music video, and somehow that blew up. From day one, it was just me trying to have fun and make people laugh. So
yeah, I mean, I would say you definitely did that. I mean, not all your videos though make people laugh at all. It makes people cry. I mean, because it's like really beautiful put together stuff. I do want to talk about that venture going into video editing and using video editing for your first time, getting familiar with a program. When I first touched Adobe Premiere, I'm like, what the hell is even going on? Right? I look at it and it looks like some insane, horrible, just, I don't know, thrown together application where nothing makes sense to me. How did you guys figure out? Did you just watch YouTube videos or did you just play around with it?
for me, mostly, yeah, just Google. Anytime I had a problem that I couldn't figure out, I just typed it into Google, and there's usually at least one or two tutorial videos that cover that topic, if not some kind of forum question. But sometimes you have to get really specific or really creative with what you Google, but self-taught through YouTube tutorials mostly.
Yeah. By the way, thank you for Indecisive Fox for letting me know I need to move in the game. I keep forgetting. That's not something I'm used to. So make sure both of you move in the game as well, because it'll kick you out after 10 to 15 minutes.
Yep. I've been clicking on my screen every now and then, just to be sure.
I got all these programs up, so I'm like, Final Fantasy's like 5 layers deep behind all these other programs. But yeah, no, I'll go in there and jump. Keep reminding me if I forget. I appreciate it. Those mods have been amazing. So Joe, same thing. You just kind of watch YouTube videos and.
Not necessarily. Every now and then I'll look up a tutorial on doing a specific thing, but I started out through practice. Like I started out with a baby version. I did Windows Movie Maker, where you have one video track and one audio track, and like basically you couldn't really cut them up very much unless you got like an advanced version, and even then all you had was cuts. You didn't have tweening, you didn't have fade-ins and fade-outs. Unless you wanted preset ones that they made that could only transition between two videos.
Yeah, that's how I started too.
Yeah, so I even made an animation in Windows Movie Maker where I drew each individual frame and laid them out and made them squish them to last a certain amount of time because I couldn't tween them. If I wanted something to move across the screen, like in most programs, you like take image, XY coordinate, scroll to the time you want, XY coordinate, and it will automatically make it move. I couldn't do that in Windows Movie Maker, so I had none of that fancy stuff, so it was very simple and easy enough for an 11-year-old to understand.
Yeah. Wow, 11
and
years
just
old.
went
Started
more from
early.
there. Very early. Like, people think that there's a misconception that people who blow up, unless it's a specific viral video where the person is doing something that isn't relevant to their craft at all, a lot of the time these viral hits, like Psy's Gangnam Style, or I don't know, like my videos, I guess, where like the D&D crap guys explode. It's like they've been doing this stuff before. They've been doing it a lot, and that's just their big break. Like Psy had been in the music industry for like a decade before Gangnam Style. It's just that's the one that blew up. I had been making videos long before this channel. In fact, this channel, my JoCat channel, is like my 5th one. I've made a few before, one when I was like a kid, another when I was like in high school, quite a few when I was in high school. I tried to make like a network of my own of like, this is the gaming channel, and this is the comedy channel, and this is the skit channel, and like none of those worked out. Yeah.
So that's funny because I made my YouTube channel under a character name that I made in Final Fantasy XIV, and I changed my character name like maybe 5 months afterwards, but like MogTalk was already built up on that channel. It's like, I just leave it. And so now I have this completely random name for my YouTube channel that it doesn't really show. It's Auken Brickmain. And that's where all MogTalk lives, on this Auken Brickmain YouTube channel, because it's so hard to do anything about it. Right? Once you kind of
Yeah.
build up, you can't really move.
No one starts out big.
Yeah, yeah, and I have to agree with that. I will say I forgot about Windows Movie Maker, but that's definitely something I used really early on. It was I don't know. It was so simple. That's why I used it, because you just threw stuff together. When I was talking to Synosis Vaccino, he was using his guides that he made that got real popular at the beginning, all Movie Maker. And it's pretty impressive to think about that. And, you know, my experience with making videos and stuff is pretty limited to what I do around this show right now. I did, every once in a while, I'll make a stupid video, but it's just so stupid. It's just like an idea. I'm like, I'm going to put that outside my head and put it somewhere, and I don't expect anything to ever happen with it. Because most people watching this channel are here for MogTalk. But the only big claim to, like, any successful video I made was a Feast intro guide. Which I made it because I was doing shoutcasting in 2018 for Feast during the regional tournament and championship, and they were telling me, hey, you know, you guys explain the mode and everything when you start out, and I was like, man, I'm gonna mess that up. There's no way that I'm gonna remember how to say everything and say it right and all that great stuff. I was like, what if I just make a video where I say that and then you just play the video? So I don't have to.
Did you mess it up? How'd you do?
I did really well. The video was okay, right? The video is kind of pixelated and everything. It didn't work out like perfectly, but it was a 3-minute short intro video that went through everything everyone needed to know that was going to watch it. And so they used that and they played it on stage at FanFest in 2018. Then they played it again in EU in 2018, or actually 2019, I think it was for EU. Then they remade it and put Japanese lettering on it and put it for the JP Fan Fest, even though I wasn't there.
Cool, dude.
And they played it the intro. And I'm like, I'm not a professional by any means, and there is no reason why I should have my videos on screen at FanFest, but they did it. And I was like, okay, you know what? I don't need anything for it. You have it because it helps with the event, and just let it go. And they actually, the guy who was leading the Feast Championship at that moment, took it, but he didn't use like a audio recording, so he spoke over everything as it was playing the video like live on stage, and I was like, this is kind of weird, but I like it. So that's my short involvement. You guys have way much more involvement in it. I will say, so Joe, when I saw your videos, I think they're just funny as hell. When I look at Denmo, I'm like, he's going to make something that should be in a museum, right? That's what I'm thinking. It should be like placed up there next to like artwork and everything. And then when I'm watching Joe's video, I'm like, I'm watching this guy on Comedy Central Presents, like up on stage. That's how I compare you right now in the back of my head. So, Joe, when you started out, you started recently making these videos, and the Final Fantasy XIV community just took to it immediately. How did you feel about that? Did you talk a lot to the community at all before then, or?
Yes, it made me very happy because this one, I think I did more research into it than even the D&D guides. These are the first instances where I'm actually having people come and proofread and double check and fact check my guides, because there's a lot to playing these jobs and playing this game that I want to make sure I don't give the wrong information. And that's not to say that sometimes I don't purposefully give wrong information as a joke, but sometimes when it's not presented that way, there's few times in the D&D guides where it's not presented like the wrong information as a joke. There's one joke that I like to refer to where if you pick a fighter, you get you get heavy armor and all the weapon proficiencies and a cookie and a free belly rub. And it's like those two, they're clearly jokes. Like, that's incorrect. You don't get those, but that's the joke, right?
Yeah.
Compared to where I make a guide about Barbarian, where I say when you rage, you are more susceptible to damage, which is incorrect. I didn't turn that into a joke. And that's what I want to make sure I don't do with this game. Because a lot of people are watching these guides, and a lot of people are consuming them and I don't want to give incorrect information.
Right. I mean, as an art, right, I would say there's an art to knowing what to make a joke about and what to be serious about, so that the person watching it who has no clue what's going on can easily decipher that without and say, hey, well, that's supposed to be a joke, and they laugh and they react to that.
But yes, yeah, I've involved my friends and I've involved some of my patrons at looking at my script to make sure that I cover everything, that everything is right. That and in fact, there's a bigger non-crap guide video that I'm working on for 14 about my experience that I'm having people proofread to make sure the pace is right and all that stuff is right. And that I don't say that not that I don't say anything wrong, because it's all my own personal feelings, and that's not anything anybody else can really determine, but more so that I understand context of certain things in the game so that I can reevaluate and be like, okay, maybe I can mention that in the video as well, so that I can understand and I'm not talking ignorantly.
Yeah, that's impressive. I thought you just threw shit together and you made a crappy guide. It sounds like you're actually making a good guide and calling it crappy.
Larry Zauer made a comment or tweet, something. He said once that, like, you need to know the game before you can make jokes about it, you know? Or rather, in order to make good jokes about it, you need to know what it is.
Yeah. And that's... I just thought that's you were just kind of doing it all on your own. So I'm actually really impressed by that, because I was going to say Denmo gets like 50, 60, 80 people involved in his videos sometimes, and I have no clue how you coordinate that and you get people involved.
It's a process. Mostly it's a lot of Excel spreadsheets trying to schedule out stuff and figure out when people are available and stuff. Yeah, it's a process. The road trip video took about 3 months of planning. And I just laid out everything I needed from people, and I had people sign up as videographers going out and saying, I need it just like this. I need, like, here's my requirements, otherwise I won't be able to use it. And just go out and film these shots, and I will put them together into a music video. And it worked out pretty well. And then there's scenes like what you showed in the intro. That was me scheduling a date and time like a week ahead of time and saying, I need as many people as possible to show up at this place, and try to involve as many people as I can. But hopefully with anytime I schedule an event, every single time, there's always going to be someone who's like, sad face, not on Primal, sad face on Crystal, sad face on I'm on a light data center.
What do you want us to do?
Yeah.
I can't help you there. I'm sorry. I mean, I feel bad for you, but also I mean,
what do you
hopefully
do?
Like in a month or two we get that world visit system, and it makes, at least with regards to Aether and Crystal, it makes it easier, but hopefully.
Yeah. Do you ever have to
it's
you finish first.
I was just going to say, yeah, it's a process.
I was going to ask if you ever have to like call the shooting because the in-game weather is bad, like.
Yeah, there are times when I have to like wait around and like I will go into websites that keep track of the weather. Like there's a Skywatcher website, Cappy Came Hungry or something like that, for fishing. They keep track of that stuff. And there are even some that will tell you the exact time, at least a day in advance, when there will be good weather. So I try to, when I can, I try to schedule around that. And if the weather is bad, I just like, all right, I guess we're sitting around for the next hour or so until the weather cycles through, and hopefully we get a good shot then.
It's like you're a real filmmaker. It's like,
no,
we're
it
filming
really
on location
is.
And it's raining
and
now.
And I wrote up for my YouTube members, they've seen it, but I wrote up a guide. I'm actually working on a how to film in Final Fantasy 14 and all the ins and outs of like what to expect with that. I think that some people would find that useful based on my experience anyway.
I mean, it's difficult. Like the stuff that you put together, I think, like, how the fuck does this guy do it, right? It doesn't. The game looks good, but I've never seen it look this good, right? I've never had it sync up so well with the music and all this stuff. And I use Adobe, and I put 2 effects on there, and I'm like, all right, let me go ahead and export, and then it crashes, right? I can't imagine all the effects and everything else that you have to put into your videos, and like you have to save like every. Do you just have it auto saving every 5 seconds? You're just like clicking on that save button just to make sure it doesn't crash.
Yeah, by the end of a project, it's usually pretty much like that. Like by the last 75% of any project I'm working on, Premiere or After Effects is usually just trying to give out on me. But no, it's yeah.
Joe, what do you use? Sorry, do you use Premiere?
I do use Premiere, yeah.
Okay.
It's just what I'm used to, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. You just more of whatever you're familiar with, and it works because
Yes.
they're all going to crash on you in some way.
Yeah, like I was watching a little bit of the how to do a podcast, a 14 podcast, and they were discussing mics, and I was discussing back with my chat, like, although generally the equipment doesn't matter, there is like a base point that you need. Like people are like, oh, the quality of mic doesn't matter; it's how you use it. It's like, okay, at a certain point, you don't want to talk into an Xbox mic, you know,
Right.
because that's going to sound awful no matter what you do. And that's the same for like video production. I think like Lightworks is a good free program that is kind of like Premiere Light, and that's got all the necessary things. I think honestly, if I wanted to, I could quit Premiere and do Lightworks, and I could possibly do a majority of the things that I still do. Literally,
Yeah,
the crap guides.
anytime.
I could hypothetically make the D&D crap guides in Windows Movie Maker because all they are stills. They're just still PNGs.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't be able to do some of the fancier effects like the spinning images and all that, but I very well could.
Yeah. No, I would never in my life. But you know, I used to use GIMP, by the way, for all my images and stuff. And I was like, man, I just don't want to buy Photoshop. And I don't have the whole suite for Adobe. But like, when I got into Photoshop, I was like, it's just too complicated. I'm used to MS Paint, right? MS Paint works. It works, man. The only thing that messes with me is the transparency part on it. But it's, I don't know. However you put stuff together, and this is just me speaking out of my ass, but however you can put stuff together and make it look halfway fun where someone could enjoy watching it, it doesn't even have to look good, right? There's some of the shittiest looking videos that have like millions of views was put together with a toaster.
Yeah. The presentation is nice, but it's the actual content and the actual substance that matters.
Right.
Yep. I had a very recent example. I made a full-on music video, like absolutely gorgeous transitions, at least. Like I put all my effort into it, and it still only has about 15,000 views. I'm not even sure people know it's there anymore.
Now they know. They do. Please go watch it. Everybody click it like 15,000 times at least per
Which
person.
one is
and
it?
Then, yeah.
Oh, it's I can't even remember the name. See, I forgot about it.
Oh my god.
It was that forgettable.
Yeah, so it really matters. Like the content matters. Like maybe the song was boring. Maybe the content was boring. Maybe I don't know. It just I put in a lot of effort into it, but at the end of the day, it what mattered was, does this stick with people? And that's why I'm very picky about what I actually choose to make these days. So,
Man, so let me give you some background and some me trying to make a funny video, right? So I was making a video and I was like, man, you know that little Iggy comes in. What's that? Something tower, the Spriggan that's on the rock and everything, and he's a boss, right? Do you remember that demo? It was in the one
Ziggy.
that's it's
I think it's Anti-Tower?
Ziggy or something. Yeah, Anti-Tower, Ziggy. And it's like
Ziggy
Stardust. Yeah, it's supposed to be
Yeah.
like Ziggy Stardust, right? And later in like one of the more recent dungeons, you see his son pop up and it's like just Ziggy's son. But it's just a random mob in there. I'm like, That's really funny, right? That's kind of funny that the dad was there, and then all of a sudden the kid shows up, and he's like nothing. You push over, and you just go. There's no backstory. That it feels like there should be a backstory. So I try to make a stupid little backstory video on it. I spent hours on it, and then more hours and more hours. I'm like, man, I really don't know how to create videos. I just suck at this stuff, and I'm trying to get angles and everything else. And after a while, I kind of got exhausted, and I was just like, man, I just want it done. And so then I start just taking shortcuts and not, caring how good the quality is. And at the end of it, I'm just like, well, it's done. Do you guys get that feeling when you like spend so much work making a video and near the end of it, how do you stop, caring? How do you stop not caring, if that makes any sense?
So wait, you're asking?
I'm asking, how do you keep up your inspiration to still do good work when you're tired and exhausted at the end of making a video? Sorry.
It like I said, I'm very very picky about what I work on, and if I feel like it's at any point it's a bad idea, then I don't start on it. But if I start working on it and it's like starting to feel bad, then I go into like maybe I need to rework something. I don't know. Like I'm working on a project that I've been working on since January, actually, on and off.
Wow.
And whereas I used to be able to, like, I start a project and I'm like, that's all I want to do. This one particular project I've constantly putting off and putting off and putting off, and I feel like I'm letting the people who like are involved in it down because I'm just like, okay, wait, I'm supposed to do this? Is this really a good idea? But then I'm like, I'm just gonna grit my teeth and get it done. Like eventually, we've got some filming shoots that we're doing. Like they were going to be scheduled for this week, but then LunarCon. So we're doing some filming shoots next week and the weekend, and that's involving a lot of my YouTube members. But when you're doing really huge involved projects and you have all these people involved, that helps with the motivation a little bit. But if it's just a silly joke, I don't stress over silly jokes. I get it done. I crack the joke and I get it out there. Okay. I just, I don't try to get to if it delivers the joke, then it's done for me. I don't try to make it a huge deal.
I can kind of relate to that because, there's a lot of stuff that I'll work on my own. Whether it's, I did this with college a long time ago. I didn't do it again. Where I'm like, oh, I'm paying for it. It's just me. It's all I matter. It doesn't matter if I do good in college. Whatever. Fuck it. And I do that with videos and stuff. And I did that. If I am the only person involved, I'll give up if I'm just tired and exhausted. But for example, the world race, when I was putting together and organizing that, I can't fail that. There's too many people involved with the event. Like if I just stop it, I'm letting so many people down. And so I get that completely. But Denmo, have you ever, just to follow that, oh, you know what? Let me go to Joe here and then I'll come back to you, Denmo. Joe, have you ever like started a video and just like got halfway through it and just threw it away?
All the time. And how I deal with that is I ask myself a few questions.
Yeah.
I ask myself, how important to me is that this video is good? If the answer is not so much, then I just let myself be lazy. If the answer is a lot, then I give myself more time. And I'm like, I know that in the future, when I look, if the quality is important to myself, I know that in the future, if it's not up to that quality, I'm going to look back on it and I'm going to regret it. And I'm going to be like, I should have taken that extra time to do this because now that it's out, I'm realizing I would have been fine just waiting a little bit and working on it a little bit more. And what helps me with that, because as content creators, we're always like, man, I don't want to let my audience members down. I don't want to make them wait for too long. But to them, they don't realize it. Like, they don't see all the... they don't see what we don't release, right? They don't see how close we are, that it's so there unless we, deliberately tell them. So,
Mhm.
For me, like I said, if I care about the quality a lot, I'll let myself have more time. And if I don't want to work on it anymore, and I'm just like, I'm not feeling this, um, there have been very rare cases that has happened. Um, but I'll just stop. I'll just be like, I don't want to work on this anymore. Do I see myself coming back to this? No. I'll just finish it up, release it, and not look back,
Mm.
And maybe that's not the way to do it because it bloats my channel with like low quality stuff. But I guess it just takes some foresight that you can't really predict. You can't foresight how much will I care about this. I don't know, 30 hours in,
Mhm.
50 hours in to working on it. I don't think there's really a good answer for that. Really,
No, that's fair. That's fair. Demo, do you
yeah.
have any videos you worked on some and just stopped, or have you always finished all your videos?
Uh, it's more I don't start videos that I know I'm probably not going to be interested in or finish. I'll write scripts or I'll look at scripts and like try to hash it out in my brain and think if I don't have a clear vision in my head what I want or what I'm going for,
Mm-hmm.
like if I can't imagine the video myself, then I probably won't materialize really.
That's good.
Especially when I'm like um when I'm thinking about like making a new dance video or something like that, a new dance Eorzea video, I usually, for the last two ones at least, I would listen to lots of music and try to find some inspiration from them. And I'll just listen to music and see if I can like actually picture scenes happening through the music. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and if I can't, then I don't. But if the music is so chaotic, like say Gangnam Style or
Mm-hmm.
Psy, and it sounds just it's got a good beat, it's fun to work with, then I know that even if I don't have a clear vision, I could just put whatever the hell I want in there, just record a bunch of random stuff with
Yeah.
and put it together into a music video. And if I need anything extra, that's when I just grab people and say, "Hey, I need this, so come do this." And that's how a lot of the Mr. Face videos ended up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah,
How did so? I'm pretty sure I've talked to you about this before, but could you tell everybody how Mr. Face even existed, how it even came to
I'm
life?
interested in this story.
Mr. Face was me playing around with character creation and trying to create the most genuinely cursed character I could come up with. And someone whose silhouette from far away would just like scare the bejesus out of you no matter where you were.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what it ended up being. And I used to keep the character in secret. Like I was like, there was the Mr. Face account, and then there was Denmo, and I didn't try to mix the two. But then I released a video, and it was like, oh well, I guess the secret's out. I'm Mr. Face, and like nobody cared. But
I mean, I
um,
actually thought they were two different entities for a while, and then all of
yeah,
a sudden you're
I
like,
still
yeah.
get people. I still get people who are like, wait, that's the same person.
Right.
So so yeah. No, it's just me making a creepy character and then creeping on people at first, and then I realized, yeah, maybe I shouldn't creep on people so much. Mr. Happy was enough.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, jeez. That story. Oh, Mike's gonna be like, "What the fuck are you even talking about?" But anyways, now since I asked you about that, I gotta ask Joe about his wiggly worm.
Oh yeah, the Wiggler head. Yeah. What about it?
Hmm. It just you played Monster Hunter once, and you're like, "This is the best thing in the world," and now it's part of your identity.
So
Yeah.
similar to Denmo, I wanted a mascot that was cursed, and silly and ridiculous. And
Right.
Monster Hunter World specifically had a helmet called the Wiggler helmet, and it's exclusive to World so far. It's not in Rise.
Hmm.
And everyone just agreed that it's just the meme hat. and I thought I'm gonna make a character that is needlessly aggressive, very dude bro-y, very angry, kind of a satirical take on those like hardcore gamer guides. This big guy who chugs like 50 gallons of Monster every morning and like washes it down with I don't know, like a warehouse
Cocaine.
of Doritos, and then
different things completely. Go ahead.
and I wanted him to be naked, but the closest thing you could get at the time was the Kieran outfit, but I didn't have the Kieran top, so he's just got the normal top, and it's just this ridiculous character. And after the Monster Hunter guides were done, I was just like, I guess he's the mascot for this now, and I kept him around for the D&D guides, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense because, people see the Wiggler head and they know who I am, they know what it is, so he just kind of stuck around. And yeah, the only problem is now that in 14 they don't have a Wiggler head equivalent. Some people say use the Namazu head because it's kind of like a fish, and I'm like, I'm gonna use the Chocobo because that's more in the spirit, because the Chocobo is kind of the mascot of the game.
Yeah.
And
well, Moogles,
yeah.
but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, and long story short, it is just because it is.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of what happened. I can throw my perspective in as the Moogle helm that I wear, and I've never take it off. It's always just there. And a lot of people do that. Just, I did it, and I was like, I'm going to make the biggest character I can with a Moogle helm, because then I'm just this giant Moogle running around with swords and axes and stuff, and that feels pretty cool to me. It came out in 2014, the FanFest kind of bonus or whatever they were doing at the time. I was like, once I get it, I'm just always going to wear it and never take it off. And I've been pretty good. It comes off every once in a while because I'm like, I don't want to glamour this while leveling up. I'll just deal with it. But I usually keep it on. And now half the time people are like, I have no clue what your character looks like. I'm like, you don't need to look at my character. I could do a quick reveal for everybody on stream right now because we're in game. We can do that. You guys can see what the frosty face looks like. Let's see. Let me get the chat off the screen for just a second here. Where is it? So many windows open. Nope, not that one. Nope, there we go. Okay, so we come down here. See how close I can get in without having Joe completely covered
Getting
up.
the print screen hand ready.
Oh, okay. Then C, and then take it off.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. Did you
You're
even know it was
gorgeous.
a Hrothgar?
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, it used to be a Rogadin.
Why the change?
Because I love beastie characters. I don't like, and I say this all the time, and I'm going to leave it off for right now. We're just going to leave it there off to the side so it can be a nice little surprise for everybody. And let me put
momentous occasion here, folks. Day in history. Frosty took off the hat.
Took off the hat.
Exclusive. LunarCon exclusive.
LunarCon exclusive.
But no, it was so playing Final Fantasy XIV. I came from WoW, and WoW has, orcs and trolls and like Tauren and like just kind of beastie different types of races in there. This game is human with cat ears, human with some scales on it, human that's bigger than other humans, human that's smaller than other humans. And
that is a common criticism, yes.
Yeah. And so for me, and bunny ear human. Sorry, bunny ear human's the other one. Then they have, hey, it's actually a cat person, right? And so it was like the closest thing I could get to from being far from human, which I self-hating human, I guess. And I was like, this is going to be the best thing that I can do, where I can feel like I play this kind of monstrous class inside Final Fantasy XIV. And so that's what it was, man. And I've loved it so far. I think maybe 1% of the game is Hrothgar or something like that.
Really?
I don't know. It's like really low. Maybe it's 5%. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating.
I see him around a decent amount. I definitely see them around more than Elizin.
Right.
But, of course, the anecdotal, so I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah. Elizin, tall human and then beefy human. I forgot there's tall human, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That was just how I've always seen it. That's my biggest criticism with Final Fantasy 14. I wish they had a frog race. I wish they had a turtle race. I wish they had these. And what they do instead is they give you these helms. So you have the frog helm, you have the Chocobo helm, and you have the Moogle helm. So I could be a Moogle technically instead of that. This is completely not with video making at all. We're talking about branding of some sort with everything, and somehow we got into this.
Hey, it could tie into video making. You got to have that character brand, you know?
Yeah, you do.
So that being said, it's very easy for me to take my brand of character and just go into another server, check my mail. Oh, I got my Moogle helm here, and then I'm good to go. I mean, I guess that's the same thing with the Chocobo helm. It's the same thing with the Mr. Face identity. And relatively, I would say with Denmo's character as well, it's not hard to really get that equipment. You just have to go to Market Board, I guess, and have someone buy it for you.
I think Denmo, your like character's look, aside from Mr. Face, is very iconic. Like, even if you don't know,
when I made both characters, I wanted them to be fairly unique. I wanted them to stand out. Like, I mean, it's hard for Lalafels to stand out, but he's max height. He lives up to his last name. But you see him, it's like, oh, okay, mustache, beard. I wanted a full beard. I even cried about it on the forums for full beards back when A Realm Reborn started. But I went for unique.
Hey, maybe in A Realm Reborn, they'll have a character creator that includes body types and full beards, and all the beast tribes will be playable.
Oh, that'd be something, man. When I saw Lupin, I was like, that's the next one. They're gonna do it. And then they just said, nope, there you go. You see it in Stormblood. See you later. Just keep moving. But yeah, no, I actually 100%. I would say your current character that you're on, Joe, is not what we recognize you as at the moment.
No, not at all. But I'm trying to make it so. This one and my like Catboy persona on YouTube, that's just me with cat ears, I guess, black cat ears.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you guys at all, besides just making that, and did you think about branding? Were you like trying to think so far ahead? Oh, this is going to be the Denmo brand, or were you just like, I just want to have this character that's kind of recognizable?
At least personally, if not for videos, at least personally. Like my 14 character always has lilies in his hair. Like right now he's wearing the purple ones, but he always has the red. Or I guess they look pink. They more look pink. Like every glam I have, gotta have those flowers.
No, it's just Denmo at least evolved from just personal preferences, just playing over and over. At first, he was always in the paladin glams, and then I had a pirate phase, and that was embarrassing. And then there was, and then I had when Heaven's Word came out, he was in the red tutor suit that you get from that one dungeon. And then in Stormblood, gosh, I don't even remember what I wore in Stormblood, but eventually I just settled on Pince Nez because I just love the Pince Nez. I want a dyeable Pince Nez. Like, seriously, give me some dyeable Pince Nez so I can change the color from red, even though red looks good in most, but And then I think the latest glamour, it's going to be really hard for me to pick something new, to work with. I like the way it looks right now with the vest and whatnot.
It's solid. But yeah, no, I don't know. I've never thought about branding at all, doing anything that I do except for Moogles, right? And the only reason Moogles are involved is because I thought of the word MogTalk one day when I created the show.
And there you go. That works.
Yeah.
It came naturally. I think it worked out.
Yeah. So I guess I haven't even looked at the guide at all, or the show layout that we have. I guess I should take a look at it. What are some of the biggest hurdles you guys have ran into making videos for Final Fantasy 14? And Joe, since you can, when you get to Joe, you can reach back further to Final Fantasy 14 if you want. But Denmo, the weather.
Where to start? Half the time I was making videos, there wasn't even G-Pose back then. So You can imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
Trying to get good screenshots even back then was difficult. You had characters like shoving their cameras into the wall just so they could get a close up. Um, the camera in general is really tricky to work with at times, and there's, I mean, it's not the worst, but I really wish there was like a free flying camera I could use. G-Pose itself is challenging to work with because it has so many limitations. Like it opened up a whole bunch of possibilities, but at the same time, you can't move while you're in it. You can't fix other people's emotes inside of it.
You get stuck on some geometry, but go through others.
Right. Yeah. And it's weird. And then if you're filming inside of a house, have you ever seen how a person will just like go up the stairs or up a custom set of stairs and their character will bounce up and down in a really weird way? And it doesn't make any sense. But and then there's the server lag with how characters move about, when you probably watch the Stelazio Theater thing going on when they do their live shows. I filmed some live shows like that before, for A Stage Reborn. But when they give their actors directions, they tell them that imagine that you're a dart and throw yourself to a spot and then stop. Because if you just like, I'll show you with my character here. If you're just scooting along and trying to get into the perfect spot, it may look good on your screen, but on another screen, you're just kind of running in place like I'm doing right now on the screen, and stuff like that. You have to think about when you're giving directions to people. And then of course the weather cycles every 20 minutes and that's frustrating to deal with. And then I could go on and on.
Yeah, and it's impressive, and so I think that's part of like the craft with making videos for video games and stuff like that, and getting into
it's stuff you have to deal with. It's just you planned for that.
You need to learn a new law of physics, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's really impressive. Every time you come out with something, I'm like, there's no way that is even possible. Like, I'm wondering if you like somehow you got the code for the game and you're like over there and you're like in Unity or some sort of video game editor just moving stuff, because I'm like, what the fuck? It's just too
most
too
of the time it's just clever camera tricks or some use of green screening and mostly clever camera tricks.
Yeah. Video editing is amazing what you can do with it, just cropping and like color correcting. I basically echo everything Denmo said as far as 14 stuff, but more on a general video making note, the biggest hurdle I've come to, and the one that I try to help people with all the time, is coming to the reality that there's always the possibility that no one will watch or care what you make. And you have to be okay with that, because it will happen. It happened to me, even with my Monster Hunter videos going viral. I'm absolutely sure it's happened to Denmo. It's happened to Shen. It's happened to everybody who's ever made videos. You could have a viral video after viral video. At some point, eventually, you're going to make one video that's going to bomb, whether it be because it's bad, or because the algorithm didn't want to show it to people, or the one that most people have a lot of trouble accepting because people just aren't interested in it. Sometimes people just don't want to watch it. And you have to be okay with that. And you have to acknowledge that when you're making your video, to be in the mindset that that is possible. Because if you are making it primarily for the views and for the attention, it's going to crush you when that happens. So the only person you can guarantee is going to care and is going to be happy with it is you. So make something that you are happy with, because if nobody watches it, at least you'll be happy with it. Because if you spend all this time trying to get into the algorithm, trying to please everybody, trying to do all this stuff, and not taking yourself into account, and it bombs, all that effort is going to feel wasted, because nobody's going to care about it, and you don't care about it.
I'm just nodding my head like that you summed it up.
Yeah,
pretty well.
every content creator will tell you the same thing.
No. And it's okay to feel bad about that stuff too. I would
Yeah, no, it's totally valid.
Yeah.
Just know what you're getting into. I made this joke when I made the healer video. Like, it's like streaming on Twitch, and it's like streaming on Twitch and expecting anyone to watch.
Yeah.
You can be upset, but know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sad. I mean, that's a whole nother topic to talk about, like the streaming universe of like people getting in, starting with streaming, and like the mental toll it takes on people who start to get successful, then mildly successful, and then they lose a few viewers, and then it's like just starts crushing them. And I'm sure that plays into it a lot with making videos and producing stuff on YouTube, especially when it starts to become a financial source. With me, I work a full-time job outside of this, and when I do MogTalk, when I do everything else, I think of it, I'm not going to gain any money from this. And I put that, what would I do if this doesn't get me any money? Because if I try to make it like something stable for me, I'm going to fail horribly because I don't trust myself to succeed, and that's just my own personal thing with that.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people get into making content and streaming and stuff like that and think getting grandeur ideas of like, oh, I'm going to be able to pay for my house because of this, right? And I mean, it can happen. You're right.
Yeah, you might. That happened to me.
Yeah.
This was paid for by YouTube and Goblin Plushies.
There
But
you go.
you have to account for the possibility that it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that goes for any content creation, because content creation is entertainment, and entertainment is not an always reliable job to do.
Yeah.
It's why you see good actors in bad movies. Sometimes they just need work.
Yep.
Nicolas Cage,
Nicolas Cage. More like Nicolas Cage, because that's how much he has left in his bank account, which is why he's in. No, but I'm joking about why he was in that awful animatronic horror movie.
I watched it.
Yeah?
He didn't say one word. I wonder if they
Nice.
didn't have to pay him because of it, or like pay him like a certain amount of money because he didn't say anything in the movie at all.
Maybe.
But
I'm kind of
anyway,
interested in seeing it now. He didn't say anything. Wow.
not a single word, man. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible movie.
I can't wait to watch it.
I mean, but I'd watch it.
That sounds like something you'd want to watch with friends.
Yeah, it's something to watch. Yeah, I watched it with my wife, and we were just laughing about the stupidity of it because that's just one of the it's like going back and watching one of the Leprechaun movies or something. All right. It was just called. Was it just called Straight Leprechaun? Is that right? Denmo, do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. There were like 4 sequels to it too, and it was just I've only seen clips.
This is actually a really good point. Do you gain inspiration from watching content outside of your own content? And if you do, from what?
For me, it's movies and music videos in general, but also I like to get inspired by editing, like really good editors. And there was one channel that inspired me for a while called Every Frame of Painting. I don't know if you've seen that one. And I've been following his later channel as well, where he just talks about whatever he wants to talk about. But yeah, just stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of YouTube lately, and it's a bad habit.
I mean, Joe?
Same here.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, I get inspiration from videos as well, but not on the topic, because I already know like what I want to make, but more so on the presentation thing. Like I'll see someone make like a cool edit. I'm like, I'm gonna steal that, or like someone do a cool transition, or just like structurally how they do a video. I'll be like, wow, I really like how they put this and then this and then this. I'm gonna do that, except with the things that I care about, like, or like see how I can implement that, or think about, why does that work? Things like that. Like
That's why you were
learn to
talking
study.
about my transition at the beginning. You're gonna take my transition now, aren't you? My
Yep, I'm
one
gonna steal it.
effect.
Content creators
I'm
are
gonna steal that
thieves.
transition. No, I made a transition for Brian Ricardo and his channel, like a whole title screen and a transition. and that was mostly based on something I found on YouTube. So
Yeah. I mean,
cool little trick, and then I just matched it to his style.
have you ever seen anyone do a transition or something, or do something from a video that you made afterwards?
I have, yes. I know this because the people who did it told me, and that's my good friends Whimsy Shrimp. They're kind of a smaller channel, but they've been doing this a lot longer than I have, so I still kind of look up to them because seniority. So I don't know. It's a weird thing. But I noticed that their outro stuff for their videos, where there's like a panel in so they can put like little videos, it's like directly pulled from mine. And I don't know, it makes me a little happy on the inside. I'm like, wow, I did something that somebody likes so much that they wanted to do their own version of it. And
Yeah, and some of my, I mean, that my brain, but some that reminded me of how like some of my earlier inspirations. Like there was this one music video. There was a lot of music videos that came out before mine that I got inspired by. There was the one where the cat girl is just walking forward, and then she's running forward, and it just transitions seamlessly between scene to scene to scene. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I
forget
think
the
I
name.
remember you posting something about it before.
Yeah,
Was
and
it, this
it was
wasn't a Japanese creator, was it?
Experience Eorzea. Yeah, chat said it.
Oh, okay.
And that was a standard that I held myself up to. Like, I can do this, but I can do it a little bit differently, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I did that with the Stormblood video, which is now banned for using the Japanese music. Don't use Japanese music, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, and then there's Zanakonpu or Zanakopu. I can't remember the exact spelling, but they are a Japanese studio that makes really, really amazing Final Fantasy 14 videos like almost every year. Usually for the anniversary. You've probably seen one or two of them, but they follow all the rules. First of all, like there are so many rules for content creation with 14. That's a whole other discussion we can get into, but they follow all the rules. So that's amazing, and they create their own audio, music production. Like it's like a full-on professional studio house, and I'm just amazed by the quality every time. And I try to grab stuff from what they do, try to aim for that quality.
You know, real quick before we talk about the rules, something did like you were saying something about people coming to you and saying something about, hey, you use this in your video, can we use that in our video? I will say that there have been 4 or 5 podcasts. They come to me and they say, hey, how do you do your videos on screen? Are you okay with me making a podcast? I don't give a fuck. You could absolutely make whatever podcast you want and do whatever you want. But I have people who come to me and say that, and I'm like, I feel bad that you're even asking me. I don't want to be like a mental note that someone needs to, you know, I don't want to worry. I don't want to step on so-and-so's toes. No, never is anyone ever stepping on my toes. As long as I can get people in here and I can have cool conversations every once in a while, which is the only reason I do this, is because I love talking to people about 14. It's so like fun to hear passionate people talk about what they love to do. And it's when there's never a reason why you would need to, don't straight up carbon copy somebody's work. I'd say don't do that. But most people just love to see new content out there and see that even if they inspire new content, that's wonderful.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I felt like that was kind of weird, and I feel weird about that.
I find it pretty cute because it's like they're learning about content. They don't know the environment, and this is their first time doing it, and
Yeah.
like it's super awesome because that means that you are one of their first people they've reached out to for this stuff. By the fact that they're asking this, that people don't usually ask. And even some regular content creators ask, because it's like, I don't know, you just want to give credit where it's due of who inspired you and stuff. And but yeah, totally, like this is just me personally, like anyone who's listening, don't apply this to anyone else, but like unless they say so. But like I'm totally down with someone completely ripping off my format, because like that means it's competition, and if they do it better than me, then it's like, oh, great. Well, now I can see, okay, what did they do better? How can I improve on that? They did like the thing that I did, but better. Okay.
It's
Well,
like
what
the
did they do?
kindest form of criticism, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And of course, that's why I said that's just me, because that kind of criticism, like put in practice, can be hard to see and hard to hear. Criticism in general is hard to hear, but like, yeah, for most people, like if you make it your own thing and just maybe so happen to take the format, like over time, it generally just naturally starts to become its own thing. Like just over time. Um, so yeah, yeah. Pardon my FC
That
buffs.
is amazing. Because I had no clue what I was doing, and also I saw it pop up, and then jackpot, and it just goes away
Yeah.
I
immediately.
just turn around and half of the people in the seats are like getting their jackpot.
Yeah, yeah.
Back up.
That is amazing.
But yes,
that FC's on top of it. Go ahead.
if your favorite content creator inspires you and you want to make content like them, just so that it's not a total ripoff, tweak it a bit. But usually people aren't too upset about, if they're reasonable, they're usually not too upset about you making something similar to them, as long as it's, you know, maybe a different type of topic or throwing your own spin in there, because that's how you start out. Like my stuff was almost directly ripping off or inspired by something else. So
That's literally the world, man. Lord of the Rings, D&D, that stuff just starts stacking up, and like everything starts ripping off of these things, right?
that's what people mean by there's no new ideas. It's not to promote you stealing, but to not stress out about making something original.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just take good ideas and make it your own.
Yeah. When I talk about people not returning a shopping cart and the shopping cart theory about how you're an asshole if you don't return a shopping cart, I may have came up with that on my own, but that's been out there. People know you're an asshole if you don't return your shopping cart, right? These conversations have happened before. People like to attribute me to the shopping cart conversation.
Where did this come from?
Because we're talking about original ideas. I thought that was an original idea, but it wasn't.
Shopping carts?
Have you not heard of this?
I've heard of it, but like...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It's
part
the-
of
it's
it.
the-
It's relatable.
It's the litmus test, the shopping cart litmus test.
Demo's like,
Oh.
what the hell? I don't return my
Well,
shopping cart.
I'm thinking in my head, like the other day I was at the store and I just watched this woman take a shopping cart and walk down the sidewalk with it all the way back to her home. And I'm just like, oh, are we talking about that?
No.
And then I realized, oh, we're talking about people who are like putting it back in the store after
Yeah,
Exactly.
as a judge of character, which is an idea that he came up with on his own.
I did,
Well,
but
okay,
it wasn't.
okay. Am I an asshole if I put it in the designated shopping cart spot? Because
That's what you're supposed to
No,
do.
that's what you should do. All right, so
Okay.
we have like 21 minutes. I don't know if I should get into
Okay, we can move on to the next point. We can have this discussed some other time.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk. Demo, you're talking about this rules with making content for Final Fantasy XIV. Can you help clarify what you mean by that and what those rules are?
So, I don't have the specifics right in front of me, but the general understanding is that Final Fantasy has Square Enix has a very strict policy when it comes to content creation, and whether they act on that policy or not is kind of a gray area, but they can act on that policy, and it is kind of scary to think about, because that would mean that about 75% of the content, maybe 90% of the content that you see is actually invalid, and Square Enix can have it removed if they want to. I think they've only done it once, and the community cried out, and then they were like, okay, well, all right, we got a badass over here. Let me back off, And they care most about how their game is presented, and they crafted their rules around that. Stuff like, well, it's nitty-gritty stuff like you can't make a Final Fantasy video with music that's not from the game itself, even if it's other Final Fantasy music, or like, if it's not in the game itself, then it doesn't count, or you can't you can't like take clips from other games and supersede it with clips of Final Fantasy. You know, if you read the actual rules, they say like that's against the rules. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you have to credit Final Fantasy copyright with literally every piece of media. Like you have to have that little string at the bottom or somewhere that you see in your screenshots. That should be in every video you make. That should be in every screenshot you make, whether or not it's with GPose. That's also the rules. If you actually get in there and read it, it's very, very strict. But whether or not they actually act on it, you know, I don't know. One thing I
So
have found is that they, if you want the developers to talk about your videos, then you have to follow the rules because they will not acknowledge a video publicly anyway. They will not acknowledge a video if it doesn't because it puts them in a kind of a hazardous place
mhm.
with their legal team, I think.
That's how it was with Monster Hunter as well. I've talked with Monster Hunter. Capcom knows who I am, and I've talked with the community manager a few times.
Okay.
Uh, I've talked
Yeah.
with Koji Fox twice, and
Yeah.
each time he said he loved my videos. He knew who I was, and it was great. Uh,
Yeah.
It's
Well,
yeah,
no.
it's more to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Like, and they do at least ones that listen, which it seems like 14's community stuff. You know, their community people in charge of that do. They do take intent into account, and they do acknowledge like, okay, what is the purpose of this video? You know, like they're not doing anything actively malicious or trying to do the things that are the reason these rules are in place, you know, then they'll usually be like, yeah, that's fine. But they, you know, like Denmo said, won't acknowledge it because they can't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's, they do make little tiny exceptions, but I mean, some things are a little bit more important than other things when going through it. I've personally talked to him, and Yoshida has told me my comment. I'm gonna put that out there. He's like, "Hey, could you not be so mean?" So that's my comment. So.
I went up to Yoshida and he acknowledged when the first time I met him at the first fan fest. He acknowledged the Lalafell march we did. I was like, "Hey, I did the Lalafell march." He was like, "Oh, nice event." So, and then the second time at the 2016 fan fest, I went up to him. I had a little flashcard with my character on it, which I guess was pretty iconic for the video. But the line was long, and we were just getting in there, getting out, and I was so embarrassed and like starstruck that I was standing next to Yoshi P. All I could manage was, "Hey, do you recognize this guy?" And he just kind of looks at it for a second, like, maybe, and that was it. But yeah, anytime I talked with Koji Fox, he was like,
Yeah.
he's just a great guy, and he said he loves everything that I put out, as far as I
There you
can
go.
tell.
You're Koji certified.
Yeah, if Koji Fox has seen it, then pretty much I can guarantee that the rest of the staff has probably seen it.
Oh,
Probably.
okay. Like he's like showing up.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
that's my hope. That's my
That's-
hope.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no. What I'm known for is the World Race stuff to the JP community, the Square Enix in Japan community, because they follow that, and so I get World Racers on here and they talk shit about the game, and so I'm probably just seen as an asshole, but that's all right.
And I hope they don't think I'm an asshole. I hope they know that Joe Crap is a character. Maybe should do
No,
this
they
theme
don't.
of,
It's
like,
you.
Yeah, no, it's not. I promise. Maybe you should have him like slap my actual character or something
I'm just slapping.
to show that he is a villain.
Yeah. Okay. So we got like 15 minutes left with the stuff. I'm not sure what's right after us, and I don't want to like delay that too much. So I won't try to get into big conversations like the shopping cart one. We'll get into other conversations about what you think that would be worthwhile talking about creating videos for Final Fantasy XIV and your experience overall. And I guess, Denmo, do you have something on the top of your head that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about so far?
All I can think about is Duty Recorder. I want to make a video about it, but I'm really disappointed with Duty Recorder, and I don't know if you've been watching Twitter, but I talked about it quite a bit, where you have this system that lets you record fights, lets you fly your camera around any person in that fight, including the boss. And it's this amazing set of tools that any content creator would be salivating over. And they restrict it to 2 fights. And one of the fights is like whatever they decide it is. And right now it's Puppets Bunker. So
I'd never
I'm
even
very
heard of it.
yeah, exactly. You don't know it exists, but it's there. And they said it was for the raid progress. You know, you can record your raid so that you can look back and fix mistakes and stuff, and that's fine. But also, you included this whole system where you can just take screenshots, really badass screenshots, and you can pause the action and just record an entire fight. And you know, you can't really do that while you're doing the actual fight unless, you know, you're having 7 people do the fight for you, which is how I filmed most of my videos. There was one video I did when Duty Recorder came out, and it was God, I can't remember his name. The cat guy with the cat arm. My
The
brain.
cat guy with the cat arm. I
Sure.
feel like I should know this.
I don't know.
Joe, you should know this. You've been playing this game for like all your
Yeah,
life.
but
No, it was
sounds like a
Bayako.
Stormblood
Are you talking about
character.
Bayako? Oh, you're
Byakko.
talking about a fight. Yeah. Okay.
Byakko.
Yeah.
I made a video
Byakko.
about Byakko using just Duty Recorder when Duty Recorder came out. I was so hopeful for Duty Recorder. It was such a good system. And I made a video about it. And I was like, I'm going to do a video about every single trial they do using Byakko, or using Duty Recorder. This is just the test phase, right? They're only limiting it to 2 fights because this is just a test phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next patch comes around, and they take Duty Recorder off of Byakko. They move it to the next fight, and then I'm like, wait, what are you doing? No, you're supposed to roll. This is something you could roll out to literally every single fight. It's like how you can do the exploration mode right
Mhm.
now, but it's only with the Shadowbringers dungeons.
Right.
And I guarantee you, or at least I don't know, I have a hunch that they're never going to release it for prior dungeons because they have their own priorities about their development, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if they released it to prior dungeons, and I think they said they might, but they might not. They probably won't. And I don't know. I'm disappointed about that. And like, I want to talk about Duty Recorder, like get the word out that this actually exists, because like JoCat said, he don't even know.
Yeah, and it sounds
And
cool.
It is
Yeah.
amazing. Like, I mean, there are some limitations with it, and I want to address that in the video. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
No,
this
and
would be a really, really nice content creation thing.
you know, and I thought spectator mode was going to be a big deal too after they put it in PvP, but yeah, you know, not anywhere. I guess they
It's
just
so,
like
so limited.
yeah. I mean, and the thing is with Final Fantasy 14, when they put like G-Pose, an amazing marketing tool they made for this game.
Mhm.
Amazing. And so if they make sure they have these tools for people who are actually making content creation, you're advertising for the game basically, and you don't pay these people anything. YouTube pays them. You're letting YouTube pay these guys to market Final Fantasy 14.
Yep,
You're,
I get
you're putting in
comments
an early. You're putting in an early investment to develop these systems for a lot of payoff later down the line.
right.
Yeah.
And I still get comments to this day like, your video was the first one I ever saw. It got me into playing the game. And because I technically break the rules, Square Enix can never really thank me for that. So
yeah, that's true. But I mean, there's that mutual, just like underlying positive relationship between you and Square Enix, I would say. And I think same thing with JoCat. Even though he's on there, he's like being like, "Oh, fuck this, fuck that, everything." It's great for Final Fantasy 14. I mean, we were watching Asmongold, who's like, you know, the big thing coming to Final Fantasy 14 right now, and he was watching or was it him or was it Summit? No, it was Summit. I was watching JoCat's video on stream, I was watching the tank one, I think. And so people are coming and doing that. And then you guys are all kind of getting extra exposure from that as well. And it's just this big
A new
rolling
audience, yeah.
effect. How do you feel about like all this extra spotlight coming to Final Fantasy XIV recently? Has that helped you all out a lot?
A little bit, I think, on my end, and on the point about me being mean in the video, I make sure what helps me be in good standings with people like Wizards of the Coast for D&D and Capcom and hopefully Final Fantasy 14 is I don't take that aggression on my opinion on the game. I purely take that aggression as a way to give the information rather than it's like I like make a joke about how awful the game is or something. Like I'm not going to do that because that's not what my video is for. I'm not a games critic. But yes, I think maybe at some point in the future something might happen as a result of the larger audience, but I think that is more an inevitability that is just accelerated because of the large audience rather than something that happened because of it. And, maybe that's a pessimistic way to look at it, but, like, there's no gaming community without bad apples. Like, even as we joked about how Animal Crossing is chill and cool and just hanging out, New Horizon comes out and shows how visceral they can be and gatekeepy, and I think we saw a little bit of that with the rise of WoW refugees and just new players in general coming to 14. But overall, I do think it is a good thing, and it is going to the cream of the crop will rise, and I think the moderation team on 14 is good at catching those bad apples early and tossing them out and being very strict with their rules and not making exceptions. And I think that has garnered a more welcoming community and a more welcoming just gaming space, whether it be because people genuinely are nice or because they're following the rules. Regardless, it is a cleaner space because of that. And I think because of that, this larger audience is a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's absolutely been a huge positive thing. And I think we were in the perfect exact spot that we would want to be in as a community for Final Fantasy XIV when all these new players came in, because they were all experiencing this for the first time. We're like, oh yeah, we're reliving this. It's like having kids and then they're doing good at sports. You're like, yeah, you're kind of living through them.
It's good for content creators because there are more people coming to watch their content, and it's good for content consumers because now there's more content to consume. Because now there's more people there, that means there's more likely that there's going to be a bunch of new types of content coming out, which is my chance to make a call to arms. I'm throwing this out there. There's a big spot, there's a big niche hole for lore videos. Get on that. If somebody likes lore, there's a big hole in
Anonymous is going to flip.
In the 14 content ecosystem without lore. And there's so much lore in the game, and there's so much you can analyze from each character talking about lore. Like, I found a video on Charlian, and there's just one video on Charlian right now. But people talk about Charlian in the game all the time. NPCs have so much, like, Idleshire and all this shit.
There's,
like...
Ethos Asher, but he has
he got a job recently.
He got a new job recently. Like, horrible timing for doing that, but it's a job that he wants to get into. So, and then there's Anonymous, who just doesn't make videos, right? He just likes talking. So
yeah, we got to get Anonymous and like drag him by the scruff of his neck and like say, hey, come over here, write me something, like write me stuff, okay? I'm not joking. Like, even outside of lore, just if you have a good idea, write a script. Like, get it out there. Maybe show it to someone who is good at video editing, because I'm not particularly great at coming up with ideas like you may think I am. But most of the time, like for my last several projects, it's just been me putting out what other people have written up. And there are a lot of websites. You don't even have to be a good video editor to help with the content creation process. There are a lot of websites like Ock Morning that are really trying to up their game. And Fey Temperance. There's some others. The PvP Discord is really trying to up their game and grab as many new, fresh players as they can and make guides and stuff. But what we're lacking right now the most is writers, just people coming up with guides and putting it out there, you know?
Yeah. And there's a lot of really good writers, and I think there should be some sort of symbiotic relationship between people who can make really good guides, because there's amazing people out there, and people who just make really good videos. The thing that I think that a lot of people are worried about is that some people who are making videos are like, oh well, if I haven't cleared it myself, or if I haven't done this, or if I haven't been in there, then I won't be taken seriously. And I feel like if you make a good video and you're just straight up, this is what I know, and this is the person who said it, and we're just making this to get the information out there, that is how it should be, right? You don't need personalities. I mean, my own opinion, right? You don't have to have a personality that is super well known and out there for this to create good content, right? I'm not a person. I don't know. I was going to go into a whole other thing about shopping carts, but I'm not going to go into it. We'll do something else about that. You know what, Denmo? Let's create a video about shopping carts.
Yeah, is there a shopping cart like equivalent in this game, like a housing item or something?
I don't know.
Like a wagon?
I'm sure the housing community could make a
wheelbarrow?
shopping cart.
They could make a shopping cart.
I'm sure there's
a
a wheelbarrow somewhere. In the
there's
game.
someone out there. If you ask them, they will make a shopping cart. I've gotten. I asked someone on Twitter like, "Hey, can you make the Deltarune symbol?" And someone just showed up to my house, or showed up to the house, not my house. They showed up to the house, asked for permission to use whatever, and we gave them the items they need, and they made a pretty badass Deltarune symbol. And I have no idea how they made it, but they did it. They can make a shopping cart.
Yeah. All right, Joe, we're kind of getting to the tail end here. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to mention before we finish up the show?
Trying to think. I don't know. What's a type of content you guys would like to see on 14? I talked about mine. I would like to see more lore videos, because we're seeing a lot of guides right now. Because a lot of new players, everyone's making a guide now, including me. But what's one that either you would like to see or you think 14 desperately needs more content of?
Demo videos.
I want calling me out.
Yeah.
I would like to see more genuinely hilarious machinima, or whatever you want to call it.
Machinima, yes,
Machinima.
me too.
Machinima.
Yeah.
I want to see more. I want to see more people actually, like, people lately have been asking me about like the Milk Money series. You know, there's a huge audience that really wants some funny character content, sitcom, whatever you want to call it. And there's just not enough. And I think it's mostly because people are just kind of turned off by the controls that you have to go through just to film it.
Yeah.
But genuinely, I would want to see more stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'd help
people,
if I could.
Yeah, Hildebrandt is huge in the game, and having that actually people making videos like that, which is kind of what Hildebrandt is watching a little soap opera or something like that. So it's its own little machinima. You could do that and be, I think, a pretty successful content creator for 14.
On the topic of machinima, I just want to shout out one fantastic one, which is Final Fantasy XIV Mean Girls, where somebody recreated the Mean Girls trailer in 14, and it is amazing. It's fantastic.
Okay. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Demo.
No, I mean, so yeah, you could share that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. But our time is up here. I'm going to, go over time here and just have you guys do shout outs so people can find you and know everything about where you are and what you do. And I also have a small credits reel afterwards. But Demo, can you tell everybody where they can find you if they wanted to find you? You don't do a lot of streaming, right?
I don't stream on Twitch. I sometimes stream on YouTube. But you can find me on YouTube, search Denmo McStronghuge, or just Denmo McStronghuge after YouTube's thing. You can find me on Twitter at McStronghuge. It's very easy to remember. And that's it, really.
McStronghuge. I'm going to post it. I typed in McStrong. It's Demo McStrong Lalafell. Is what shows up when I search in YouTube.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
There we go. All right, I got your channels in there. And Joe, where could people find you if they need to find you?
Yes, you can find me on YouTube at JoCat. I'm on Twitter at JoCat105, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/JoCat.
Oh my gosh! Every time I go to one of your videos, I'm sorry everybody that hears that, or actually I think it's muted. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not muted. But I go to your YouTube channel. It does the autoplay. It's all the music.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, all your fault. I can't believe you have autoplay on your YouTube channel. You son of a. No, it's fine.
Need to eat, man.
Yeah,
Need those views.
That
precious
views.
That precious $1 CPM.
I mean, it adds up though. It does add up after a while, into a house sometimes.
Oh no, this is all Goblin money. This is all Goblin plush money.
Explain this to me, because I feel like I'm missing something.
Really quick. I'm sorry this is taking up the time. But
that's okay. They're not kicking us out. They're letting us stay here for much longer. There's no one after us. We could be here as long as we want.
Goblin Plushies, which are kind of like the secondary mascot of the Crap Guide series, and they're adorable and great, and they are probably some of the best best-selling plushies on Makeshift, which are the manufacturers, and
Nice.
they sold a lot. So
Holy crap, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the next event's in 30 minutes, I think. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh, sick.
Is it 30? I don't know. It's soon. But anyways, guys, I appreciate you all walking out. I mean, it is a little bit weird. I wasn't expecting to do like the in-game part of it where we're kind of here, but you know, LunarCon's amazing, and they're doing this, and I definitely want to be a part of it any way I could. I was thinking about some good ideas, and I was like, I don't have good ideas, so I'm going to do MogTalk.
Hey, it was still fun, man. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, and it was awesome to meet you for the first time, and to get you guys in the same room, because you're both people I respect a lot when it comes to content
It's nice to
creation.
meet you too.
Yeah.
Both of you.
I respect both of you too.
Oh,
a lot.
I respect that. We're just respecting each other. We're doing great. But anyone watching the show, thank you for coming. Thank you everyone at LunarCon for making this such a great event. I do have a quick credit reel that I'll roll here at the very end of the stream. Next week, I'm not sure on the show, but we do have some really interesting stuff coming up. We're going to be doing a discussion with World Races with Final Fantasy XIV, because that's what I do, and we're going to bring on. I'm talking with some World Racers from WoW. They'll come on and talk with World Racers from Final Fantasy XIV. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, both of you guys amazing. Thank you to my wife Kerr for being amazing and letting me do this every weekend without hating me for it. Thank you very much to everyone coming watching, all mods, everybody. And until next time, remember, be good, keep cool, stay frosty. You guys have to wave and say bye.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the show. Before we end today, of course, I'm going to do my special thanks to our Patreon supporters, a few organizations. One, Ock Morning, great rating resource website that you guys can check out. Another one is Phase Temperance, which is an organization that puts on PvE events for the community. Teamcraft, a great resource for crafters. And of course, just some awesome people, Dude and Satonio, D Fury, Daniel H, Megan C, Nami, Psyche, and of course Tag. If you guys want to support on Patreon as well, you can just go to our Patreon page, which, hold on, I'm horrible at this, patreon.com/FrostyTV. And I appreciate everybody. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.